Hello guys, welcome to our channel Demigods. Today we're going to have a post analysis on green color, the analysis that we haven't done because last time we did the blue and white colors.
Yeah, it seems to us that the Duskmourn has a very good collection of the green card that could be useful in the events, like upcoming events, and especially the ones that we're super excited about.
Which is the Arena Open this weekend for October 12 and 13. So it's going to be a limited format where you're going to try to test your skills in Duskmourn. So we made an analysis of the common and uncommons that you can draft easily in your packs. So let's jump onto it and let's go onto the creatures.
So the main idea was to explain our experiences than the card itself, because like you have watched a lot of maybe the card analysis, but very watchdog, for example, for starter, it's a very useful card because when it enters and dies, you can surveil one. And usually, if you're finding hard time getting your land drops, so it is very beneficial in the beginning of the game that you have this card, so you make sure that you will hit your land drops.
You also have to remember that this card plays around the delirium, so probably you want to have some card in your graveyard. So yeah, keep that in mind. And then we have the overgrown zealot that has the ability to let you ramp, give you another color that you probably want to splash, and give you 2 mana for facing up a creature. So it's extremely easy to play and to make it like a better ways of colors in your draft.
For the Manifest Dread strategy, especially they're giving you 2 mana to turning up, it's very good. So keep that in mind. And also, like for splashing any kind of color, Zealot is the way to go. Then the third card is the Flesh Borrower. It's an amazing ability. For example, the Dead Touch is, first of all, unbelievable, but it gives the Dead Touch also to another creature that attacks the same way. So you have all of a sudden two Death Touch attackers. So it could be useful at the defense by itself, but attacking, you give uh, this ability to another creature, so it's very useful.
And what is very interesting in those cards as well that it's 2 mana cost, so it means that those cards can be played very early in the game. Let's go on to the Grasping Longneck, not a super card, but having the reach and being a 4/2 for 3 mana is kind of useful sometimes. The only down part of this card is like its toughness for 2, then it dies very easily to a card that has been, for example, Manifested Dread.
And the last one in this deck is the Spine Seeker Centipede. Centipede, when it enters, you seek for the basic land and you put it in your hand. So you make sure that you have a land drop the next turn. And when you reach the Delirium, which is like you have four or more cards in your graveyard, card types in your graveyard, then it becomes 3/3 Vigilance creature. So we used it a lot. It's good for your land drops and also 3/3 body for your delirium strategy. I think it's a very good uncommon.
Let's go now to the Defiant Survivor. It's not a card that we played a lot, but of course the survival mode is extremely powerful. This card, we've seen it like more on useful on the play and not really on the draw. So be careful about it because the toughness is a little bit low.
The Cryptic Inspector is my favorite card in this deck. It has vigilance, and if you have the Manifest Dread strategy, it grows each time another permanent face turn faced up, then you get +1/+1. And I saw this becoming like a 6/7/7/8 card. So for what it is, and it has vigilance, so I think it's the best common of the set.
Yeah, definitely with the synergize, it synergizes very well with the Manifest Dread, and we were kind of impressed by its power. Another card that we drafted is the Cautious Survivor. 4 mana for a 4/4 that has survival, give you 2 life. Is not something extraordinary. It's a good body, but it's not extremely meaningful in the draft most of the time. We'd rather like play something that is a little bit lower in terms of cost in general.
And another 4 mana spell, Entropy. Entropy is very crucial because there's not many cards that has reach in the green department. And considering how many flyers that we have in the set, especially in the blue section, so Entropy is very good. And also, like if you're playing against Izzet, they build their strategy around the rooms so you can destroy at least one of them. Although discarding a card might be not really good, but if it's a later stage in the game, like you might pay two and get rid of a room, although it's a bit expensive for what it is, like 6 mana altogether. But Entropy is very good buddy, and I was always happy to draft this card.
Yeah, but the down part of this card is that it doesn't give you the opportunity to destroy an enchantment or an artifact as well that you would kind of expect for this kind of things. You just can destroy a room, and sometimes you don't have any other creatures, so you have to play this card, and then the room of your opponents comes a little bit later, which is then pretty bad. Another artifact creature that we found extremely powerful was the Beautiful Thresher that has this delirium effect. So it's a 5/4 for 4 mana. This card was crazy most of the time because it has a huge power, it has a huge toughness as well, and it costs only 4 mana. And most of the time, like the trigger is extremely useful. So this card, yeah, we drafted it a lot of times.
Yeah, I say it's much better than Survivor. They have both 4 mana value, but the Treasure will give you a land that you could put on the battlefield tapped. And if it's not a land card at the top of your library, you still get it to your hand. So it also works as a card draw machine. So one of the best uncommon.
For this next part, we have the biggest creatures in green, the Bashful Beastie. We were a little bit suspicious about this in the beginning, 5 mana for a 5/4 that manifests dread when it dies, but actually it became extremely powerful in this manifest dread shell, where actually all the cards were triggering with one another.
The next card is the Slavering Branch Snapper. This has a forest cycling strategy for two, and this two doesn't really have to be any colorful mana. So that means you can make sure that you hit your forest with this card. And even with itself, like it's a 6 mana 7/6 body with trample. It's a good finisher, especially if you have it like towards the end of the game. And we were able to win some games with the Bridge Snapper.
Especially if you manifest dread it for 6 mana, then you can surprise your opponent because it's like just beneath your card, your face down card. So yeah, you can definitely finish your opponent with that. So let's go to the last creature. Last creature, we cannot like skip this one, of course. It's Altanak, the Thrice Called, 7 mana for a 9/9 trample. Like this card is amazing by itself because if your opponent is targeting it, then you can draw a card, and it's a huge body for 7 mana. If you're lucky enough, and you can try to get three of Sate's name, but it's probably a long shot most of the time.
Yeah, in a limited format, being able to draft like three of the same card is next to zero. But well, you can still be lucky. But even though you don't have the that card, say its name card, the Altanak with 7 mana 9/9 trample, it's a hands down one of the best card in the whole set.
Okay, let's jump now onto the enchantments. And like green offers a bit of enchantments, but not the best ones. But we kind of drafted some in here.
The first one is the greenhouse or rickety gazebo. So it's an enchantment room. The greenhouse part is giving you a lands of any color. So that was useful, especially like if you're splashing the third color. And the other one part, it's like whenever you unlock this, you return two permanent. Well, in this case, we had like some instants and sorceries that went into our graveyard, and there was no way that we could retrieve it. So the card is only good if you're only playing like permanents, and not really great if you have instants and sorceries in your hand.
What we actually preferred as a room was a moldering gym and the weight room because, well, you ramp up with the left part and you actually manifest dread a little bit later by putting 3+1+1 counters on your creature. So most of the time it was synergizing way more with our deck, like playing around the manifesting dread, and then we most of the time sideboarded greenhouse to take in the moldering gym. It made more sense most of the time.
Yeah, this Wade Pro, like giving 5/5 body, like 6 mana, was not too bad because we always had some card that is triggering with the Manifest Dread. So that's why if it's your strategy, you can go with this enchantment.
We're going to finish with the last enchantment, the Frantic Strength. Well, we haven't played this card ourselves, but we died from it a couple of times. So be aware of it. This enchantment has flash and gives trample and +2/+2 to your opponent's creature. And then you have to be careful because a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of players do play this card, but like a few do. Let's go now onto the instants and sorceries that green can offer us, and actually there's plenty.
Yeah, the first instant is the coordinated clubbering. So what you do, like you have two creatures on the battlefield that you untap, you tap them, and then you are able to deal damage to the opponent's creature. So you don't lose your creature, but they do. So it's good. The only thing is you're tapping your creature, but it was very useful considering it's only 1 mana and you can deal a lot of creatures depending on how big size of a green creatures usually are.
The other removal that has been played a lot is the monstrous emergence. Like this is a fantastic removal because you don't have to target only a creature that you control on the battlefield, but it can also be from your hand, and it's not fighting; it's dealing damage. So basically, we're avoiding the kind of things where you have to target your own creature and then it dies from a removal, so you would lose two cards with only one card from your opponent. So the monstrous emergence was extremely good most of the time.
Oh, the other one is the Say Its Name. Say Its Name is very good, like to return a creature or a land card among the cards that you milled. And we already mentioned about the Altanak. Well, if you have 3 copies of this in your limited format, which again might be a bit tricky, but it's brings you Altanak, it puts it on the battlefield for free. We never managed to do that. We wish, but still, as a sorcery for 2 mana, like milling 3 cards and returning some of the permanents in back to your hand was very useful. And we used this card to catch our lands and never missed the land drop.
The other card that we played as well is Manifest Dread. So Manifest Dread makes like you give you the choice of getting something useful on turn two, but we found it pretty shallow if you don't play Manifest Dread synergy. So that wouldn't be our like top choice if you don't play the Simic strategy.
The fifth card is called the Break Down the Door. We didn't really use this card most of the time, but we were played against. But it's very nice card because it has 3 options that you can use, and one of them is like targeting artifact or targeting enchantment. And considering how enchantments are taking over the entire set, that is a very useful card. And the worst case, which depending on your strategy, you can manifest dread and trigger your other cards. So I like the versatility of this card. Again, like I wish we played it, and maybe this weekend we might have a chance to do it.
And the last card is, of course, Under the Skin, which is a fantastic card that manifests dread, and you may return a permanent card, any from your graveyard to your hand. So if we have to choose like between Manifest Dread and Under the Skin is definitely our favorite choice. It allows you to do two things with one thing. It gives you also the opportunity to have a look to a creature that you can probably manifest dread. Well, it's a fantastic card in any green shell, actually.
And thank you guys for watching this video. We wanted to create like a small presentation before the open arena, and maybe you want this one useful for drafting on the Saturday event, and maybe we will be playing some green.
Well, yeah, we hope to play probably some green. And of course, we didn't mention it, but all the rares and mythic rares of green are extremely powerful as well. But this is more random. So, like having just the commons and uncommons were kind of a specific video on it. It was our whole idea after what we experienced in this format. Then wish you good luck, guys, for this weekend. Hope that this video was helpful or will be helpful. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.